My name is Grace Huynh, and I am co-president of Fortissimo Club. I am also a senior at San Clemente High School, and I play the violin. So just to recap last week, Trinity taught you guys the correct bow hand grip, but today we're going to focus mainly on our left hand because I will be teaching you the correct left hand position. So for now, you guys won't need your bows, so you could just set those aside. Okay, let's jump right into it. So we're gonna first put our violin, or viola, on our shoulder. And the first thing I wanna talk about is your left hand thumb. Your thumb actually plays a very significant role on the violin. So let's just talk about what it should and should not look like. So I'm gonna flip around to show you guys. So your thumb should generally be about an inch away from the scroll, but I would say a good rule of thumb is to place it where your first note is on the violin. So for example, the first note on G would be A. So wherever that A is, that's where you want to place your thumb. The second thing I want to talk about is what is not correct. So you should never have your the fingerboard in the nook of your thumb and first finger like this. This is not correct. Please do not do this, because then you won't have it's just not comfortable and your hand can't really curve around the fingerboard that nicely. So don't do this. Also, never place your thumb around the fingerboard like this. This is not correct either because you could be hitting other strings and it just gets in the way when you play. So it should never be over your violin. The correct way is just to have it gently placed against the fingerboard, and you never want to squeeze with your thumb. You never want to pinch the fingerboard with your thumb because that can cause tension in your left hand and in your arm. Talking from personal experience, I've had this happen to me where I would grip the violin too harshly with my thumb during fast passages or chords, and that would cause tension in my hand and my arm, and it would hurt a lot. And I feel like that can also lead to tendonitis, which we all want to avoid as musicians. So just avoid gripping with your thumb. The second thing I want to talk about is your wrist. So your wrist should never be against the fingerboard like this. And the reason why we want to avoid this is because you can't maximize the amount of room that you have, and you can't vibrato. You can't wrist vibrato. So this is what vibrato usually looks like, or it can be with your arm as well. But when your wrist is up against the fingerboard, you can't really vibrato that well. And yeah, it's just not good. And when we get to more advanced technique, like shifting, you want to be able to move your hand freely up and down the fingerboard. So that's another reason why we always want to keep our wrist in a slight curve. But you don't want to overdo it by keeping your wrist straight like this. This looks like a 90-degree angle, which we want to avoid because this can also cause tension. Sorry. So you definitely want to avoid keeping your wrist too straight or too bent. So we always want to have a nice curve and line, because that way we can move very easily whenever we need to shift or if we need a vibrato. So yeah, just keep that in mind as you practice. And I also want to talk about your fingers. So your fingers should be placed kind of like a curve across the strings, just a curve. And you never want to play with the flat side of your fingers. You always want to play at the tip, right here. And so you want to curve it around, and your fingers should be curved. It shouldn't be flat. Like it should not. You should not play like with the flat side of your finger like this. It should be curved and play with the tip of your fingers. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is your left hand, or your left arm, sorry. So we never want to have your elbow cut like in the side of your waist. Like you should never be slouched down and play like this, because again, you won't have very easy access to the whole instrument. Because if I kept my elbow in my side, like first of all, that's very hard. It's very hard to play like this, and that causes you to slouch, which we always want to avoid because it's just, you can't maximize the room that you have. So we always want to be sit up, have your violin parallel to the floor, and have your elbow away from your waist. And your elbow should never be like too far out like this though, and it should never be too far this way unless you're shifting, but we'll get to that in later videos. So just try to avoid having it in your waist or like out here, because that is also not correct. So I'll show you guys from this side as well. So this is correct. It should be out parallel with your violin. It shouldn't be like this, and it shouldn't be like this. And yeah, that basically wraps up our video. So if you guys have any questions, please ask us in Fortissimo. Fortissimo takes place on Fridays from 4 to 5 on Zoom. I hope this video helped you guys. Again, please let us know if you have any questions, and we'll see you next week.